This is a very exciting air show for us. First time that we bring the KC390 for performing an air display. Of course, we are also very excited with the flight test campaign of this aircraft. So without any further delay, I'll pass the word to Paulo Gastão Silva. Paulo Gastão is our Vice President of the KC390, and he will give us more information on the program update on the flight test campaign of the KC390. Okay. After his presentation, we will open the floor for question and answers. We will have microphones here for you to have your questions, and I just ask you to please identify yourself, saying your name and the name of the publication. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lopez. Good morning, you all. Welcome here. Thank you for coming. I'm glad to be here today to talk to you about the status of the KC390 program and the progress we have been doing in the flight test campaign. As Lopez mentioned, this year for the first time we have an aircraft here. It's the second prototype that is here, doing every day the flight display. And every year I like to remember the progress. Last year we had the first prototype in Fargo and a static display. This year we brought the second one and for the flight display. Next year I hope to be talking about the delivery of the first production aircraft that is already being assembled in Embraer today. Okay? So just to maybe some among you may not be fully familiar with the program, so I will try to be quick on the slides and let more time for us to talk. But to be clear on what are we talking about, we are talking about a new generation military transport and tanker aircraft, the KC390. A development we started in 2009, hired by the Brazilian Air Force that has established the requirements. And I also like to talk about the 5 pillars of our value proposition for the KC390, based on important aspects, linking the design with the operators' needs, talking about increased mobility. As you already know, we have a very important payload capability in KC390. We are talking about 26 metric tons maximum payload and the high performance of a turbofan aircraft. This brings to the operator very good efficiency in military transport with a rugged design allowing the operator to use the maximum the fleet in any place in the world. So operationally in most demanding operational scenarios. An aircraft is to maintain. This is also very important. We designed the aircraft from the beginning to show availability not usual in the military transport segment, and to have the lowest life cycle cost in the category. And we are sure we are doing this. With very important flexibility, we are talking about an aircraft that is able to perform a wide portfolio of different missions using the same basic aircraft with quick reconfigurations, and we will see a bit more about that. This allows to the operator the flexibility of using any of the aircraft in the fleet for any of the missions they normally will have to perform, and using state-of-the-art technology, not just because it's beautiful, but to the measure it brings value to the operator, to the customer. So allowing the crew to concentrate on the mission and taking the maximum they can take from the product. We have talked about the first production aircraft. We have a firm order from the Brazilian Air Force for 28, a contract signed back in 2014, and we will be delivering the first one mid of next year. This is already being assembled. This is a real picture of the first Brazilian Air Force production aircraft being assembled in Gavião Peixoto in Brazil. And we also have parts for the number 2 and number 3 FAB aircraft being manufactured today. We'll have the second one delivered at the end of next year. For the flight test campaign, we have 2 flying prototypes. The number 2 is here today. Number 1 is in Brazil, continuing with the flight test campaign. They have both the same basic configuration, and it's generally the same configuration of the series production aircraft. We, of course, for the development and certification, we are also doing ground tests for the airframe. This is a picture of the static test, full-scale static test vehicle. We are in the final part of this campaign. We already finished successfully the wing and ultimate load test recently, and we will soon switch the use of this test hangar to the fatigue tests. This is test vehicle 802. It's being assembled today in Embraer, and we use it for the fatigue certification. If you look at this set of test vehicles plus the first production aircraft, you can see that the first production aircraft is aircraft number 5, and all of them are manufactured following the same processes and using the same tooling. So we have been trying out and validating all the hardware and processes and procedures for the series production. So the production ramp-up will, of course, be much easier because we have been doing that using the very same resources. Looking at the flight test campaign with the 2 flying prototypes, just a summary of that. We have flown more than 1,000 flight test hours already, and this has been possible because the prototypes are showing really unprecedented availability, and the flight rate is quite high. We can fly most prototypes almost every day to follow the campaign planning. And another important point is the flights have been confirming the models we have built before. So we have worked in this development using all the experience Embraer acquired in previous company programs with a number of advanced engineering tools and defining models for the aircraft, for the systems, for everything in the product. And the test campaign is demonstrating that the models are correct and the tools we use are appropriate, so we can progress quite quickly with the test campaign. When I talk about tools, we have all kinds of tools from computer simulations to wind tunnel models and test campaigns, or rigs used for ground testing for different systems and for integrated systems. We have the Ironbird with all power, hydraulic, electric, cockpit, full avionics, and flight controls, landing gear, everything put together. And we use this for development and also, of course, for certification purposes. Some results, more specifically from the test campaign. These pictures show the test campaign we had in June last year with the Brazilian Air Force and Army for cargo dropping and paratroop jumping And we did that in an air base in the interior of Brazil. And the test is covered free jump and static line jump from both the rear ramp and the side doors. We did CDS and loads up to a certain weight, launching, airdropping. Everything was very in line with the simulations and models, and we could get the approval from the military forces for this campaign. We also performed during the same campaign stability tests for the extraction parachutes in support of the next phase of the airdropping campaign for heavier loads. We had modeled the extraction systems. We had performed wind tunnel testing with that to tune the models, and we could confirm the accuracy of the models with the real flight test. So this should ease our work in the real extraction flight testing to be done next year. Beginning of this year, it was in February, we started the in-flight refueling tests with the KC390 in the tanker role. We have a system able to cover both low speed and high speed range. This first part of the campaign was for high speed. We had the support of the Brazilian Air Force with modernized F-5 fighters, and all the tests were successful, and we are now getting prepared for the wet tests to come soon. Also this year, we brought one prototype to Punta Arenas in Chile and Rio Gallegos in Argentina for the crosswind and tailwind tests together with the Brazilian certification authorities, both civil and military, as we have a dual approach for the certification of the product. And we could perform the planned test campaign we had for this period. We also did this year the water spray tests, water ingestion tests for certification purposes. Also a successful campaign. We'll show you in a few minutes a video that summarizes all the parts of the campaign I'm talking about. And with all we have been doing, we covered the full flying envelope of the aircraft, fully open envelope, Mach 0.8 to 300 knots calibrated airspeed, 36,000 feet maximum altitude. We finished all the flutter flight testing up to dive speed and Mach number. We cleared the full fly-by-wire control system up to the normal mode functioning, including the active side sticks fully engaged in the active mode. We performed the tests we needed to certify the engine's installation. Of course, the engines are certified under Part 33 of the requirements, but we have specific tests for the installation certification. We already started the external noise assessment. We will have a dedicated test campaign for certification purposes. Performance assessment. The performance of the aircraft has confirmed once again the predictions we had from our wind tunnel testing and engineering tools. Flying qualities. The airplane is flying really well. You can see if you have not yet the opportunity to fly this afternoon again. It's
3:05 we start with the E2 and just after the KC390.
Okay. And we started artificial ice assessment, and in the coming months we'll have the natural icing test flights for the certification of the aircraft. We can now launch the video. It's a kind of summary of the campaign until today, and then we'll continue the presentation. This was the first flight of the first prototype. The second prototype started flying in April last year. You can see we did the tests with parachute jumping from both side doors simultaneously. Together with Farnborough Air Show last year, we also had a demo flight to some different countries, as we are doing also this year. We also have a fully functioning test rig for the cargo handling and aerial delivery system. We recently finished all the tests to embark and disembark different kinds of vehicles of interest of the Armed Forces. And we are also using the same rig to prepare for the flight testing of the heavy loads dropping. This is a special facility we have in our test runway in Avião Peixoto for the water ingestion tests. Well, here is just a schematic of the test rig you saw on the video to show that we can simulate the real conditions on aircraft by adjusting the pitch and roll angle, and we are able to simulate the extraction loads and everything we need to confirm the good functioning of the extraction and their dropping system. In this rig we have a fully integrated system with the electronic control system and all the electrical locks and everything we need for air dropping, automatic air dropping in the aircraft. And you have some pictures of the very same campaign you just viewed on the video. Okay. What next? Well, I started talking about that. We continue with the certification tests. In the case of the KC390, we have a dual approach for the certification, as I mentioned before. We have a civil certification of the green aircraft, the basic platform, with the Civil Certification Authority. And then we have with the military certification agency of the Brazilian Air Force, the additional certification for the full military configuration and full military capability. We will continue doing the tests for these two certification campaigns that are in fact integrated for the full certification. Prototype number 2, as I told you, will be engaged in some demonstration flights in a number of countries before getting back to Brazil. And we are working to have the initial operational clearance reached the second half of this year. So by the end of this year, the aircraft will be certified at the IOC level, so the customer would be in a position to start operating the aircraft with some of the military capabilities, and the full military capabilities to be achieved 1 year after, by the end of next year. And midway, we will have the civil certification of the green aircraft. It's by April, May next year. May next year is the civil certification of the green aircraft. So this is roughly what we have in face of us to continue with the test campaign. What I can say is, you remember we talked about that last year. We had some replanning in 2015 because of budget limitations from the launch customer. But since then we have the program absolutely on track, and IOC will be reached this year. The test campaign progresses, as I told you, quite well, and the FOC is planned for end of next year. So we have no surprises, no big issue. The configuration of the production aircraft is essentially the same we have on the prototypes. And
so IOC the end of this year.
Yeah, IOC the end of this year. FOC next year. Excuse me. Thank you about this. And I think this covers about everything we have to start talking. I thank you for the attention, and I'm now available for your questions.
Yeah, since we have a full room here, guys, we will try to accommodate all the questions, so I just ask for your help and understanding, okay? So let's start with this part of the room, and then we're doing sequences, okay? All right. So we can start here with James here.
Peter Tuss from James. I'm just going to ask if you have any more details of new customers, especially interest perhaps from Sweden, because there was some discussion of there being a quid pro quo with regard to Gripen and Brazil. So are there discussions there?
Well, let me say, as you know, Embraer does not comment on ongoing campaigns. You know, because we were in Sweden before coming to the air show, we were there to demonstrate the aircraft, and also because we had the activities on the Gripen program with the Brazilian Air Force. The news in Europe comes from Portugal, as you also know. We had recently, this month, we had a decision from the Portuguese government to start contract negotiations with Embraer for 5 aircraft and number 6 as an option. So this is the concrete campaign we have today. Portugal is one of our partners in the program, as you already know, and we are very happy to start discussing with them this that should materialize as the first export of the KC390. We are happy that this happens with one of the program partners, of course.
Nigel?
Could you give me a few more details of the demo tour? Are you going to New Zealand and Australia?
Well, we have not disclosed the route of the demo tour. I don't know what if we are going to disclose anything on that.
New Zealand is the one that we can disclose because it's the open beat, but the rest is only the regions, guys.
Yeah, and it's the more distant place we were going to bring this aircraft this year. Yes, we'll be there.
When? Do you know when?
Yes, well, we'll have the aircraft flying up to mid-July.
Mid-July.
Before going back home. And one of the visited countries will be New Zealand, yes.
So between now and July, we'll be in New Zealand.
Yes.
Back there.
Hi, Mr. Silva, Tom Patterson, CNN. I know it's early on in the process, but I'm wondering if you can tell me like what your goal is as far as a unit price for these planes once everything is said and done. I've read, different guesses and figures and estimates, but you have to have a number in your mind. What's a range? Can you give us a range?
You already put them this very same question, and I told you that this is the most put question and the less answered question. And I explain. No company normally releases any price on defense products, basically because any defense product is customized to every specific customer. And of course we cannot have a list price for a product that has to be adapted in some measure to specific requirements. And so you're not going to get a price.
How about a range?
Just to answer you, yes, I have a range. Yes, I have some numbers. I have some numbers in mind, and I'm going to keep them in mind.
Right.
But thank you for the question.
We can assure it's going to be very competitive, right?
That's for sure. That's for sure. And this is the most important tool. It is really competitive, especially when you look at the capabilities we are providing. Okay.
Tony?
Tony Osmond with Aviation Week. Can you provide a definition of IOC and what FOC
Oh yes,
will be?
excuse me. IOC stands for initial...
No, not what that means in terms of
for
capabilities.
initial operational clearance. So it depends on the program. There is no general definition. It depends on the requirements of every specific program. And I cannot talk to you about the details on the Brazilian requirements because they are classified. But for the IOC on the KC390, we have the full basic transport capability, so no restrictions. Of course, the full envelope is already open. We have certification for the full transport capability and some of the military capabilities. And we will keep testing the aircraft for 1 more year to cover the full range of military capabilities that will be available at the final operational clearance. I cannot list because it's part of the classified requirements. I'm sorry.
Quite heard freelance. You now see competition aircraft dropping bombs or firing missile. That's about a weaponized version of it.
It will depend on the market. Embraer, I think Embraer has a tradition in special missions aircraft using many of the platforms we have been developing along the years. The KC390 has no reason to be different.
There is a flying forward spots on the mock-up here, over there. There is a mock-up with a FLIR system.
We have electro-optic infrared pod on pylon on the front left part of the fuselage. Yes. It's mainly used for SAR missions. You can have the visual and thermal images on the cockpit displays to help in search and rescue missions, mainly.
Which pod is it?
For the Brazilian Air Force, it's a Lightning pod from Rafael.
You do everything.
Does it
Once you buy it, you can do what you want.
Does the aircraft have any built-in self-protection capability?
Yes, sir. Let's talk a bit broader in survivability. The design incorporates from the beginning some survivability considerations. So in terms of airframe, you have minimum distance between structural elements, flight control elements. You have redundancy, you have parts that are intrinsically resistant to shocks. In addition to that, we offer ballistic armor. We have 2 options. You can have the aircraft protected from 7.62 caliber munition. And you can also opt to have the half-inch caliber protection. Okay? For the 762 protection, we have the full protection of the cockpit because the transparencies are already armored to that limit. And when you install the armor, you have the full cockpit, you have some critical parts of systems and even airframe or control system, depending on the option you have. You have The Loadmaster station also protected, and well, it will depend on the options you take. And then as self-protection system, we have a full suit with the radar warning, the laser warning, the missile approach warning, sensors. The information is processed and can activate a number of shaft and flare dispensers, and we also offer a DIRCAM mounted on the tail cone that is linked to this basic self-protection system and can also protect the aircraft from some threats.
So another one here.
Yes.
Check of could you please tell us your planned schedule of first deliveries in coming years? Next year, for example,
Yeah, well,
some few years later.
Of course, it will depend on our success in selling the aircraft. For the Brazilian Air Force, we have a firm order for 28. We will deliver the first 2 next year, another 2 aircraft the following year, in 2019. And from 2019, we can already start delivering to export customers once we are successful in selling the aircraft. Then we have a ramp up. Our production capability without any further investment can go up to 2 aircraft a month if we have to. Yeah. The stabilized production rate is planned at basic conditions, no additional shifts for 1.5 aircraft a month after the ramp-up period. But of course, it will depend on sales results.
You talked about IOC and FOC, but
Yes.
when will the aircraft actually be operational with the Brazilian Air Force, like in sizable enough numbers for a unit to be stood up?
Yes, let me explain quickly this point. The first aircraft will be delivered June next year. So from mid next year, the Brazilian Air Force will start knowing the product better and operating the aircraft. I mentioned it before, we had schedule adjustments 2 years ago because of budget restrictions. Originally, we had a more aggressive delivery schedule in the beginning of the program, so they could have more aircraft. Today, because of those adjustments, we will deliver 2 aircraft next year, so they will start operating the aircraft based on the IOC clearance. But when they get the number 3, they will already have the FOC, so the third aircraft will be operated at the full military capability already.
And when is the third aircraft delivered? When is the third aircraft delivered?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Another one. Next.
Can we hold this year in your partnership between with the Boeing?
Boeing?
With Boeing.
Yes, we have an agreement with Boeing for this program. We'll be jointly looking at the market, and basically the share is we produce the aircraft and Boeing would be in charge of after sales support, basically. Okay.
Will you be participating at Dubai Air Show?
I don't have yet the plans defined for the coming shows. I cannot answer you. Of course, the basic purpose of the prototypes is to follow the test campaign. We have strict dates to comply with for certification. So unfortunately, we are not yet able to bring the aircraft to all shows. Specifically for the case of Dubai Air Show, I would like a lot to be there, but I'm not sure yet if we will be able to do so because of the certification campaign.
Can you provide a few details on the Maritime Patrol version? Have you formally launched development, or is it still just an idea?
No, I told you before, we have, every time we consider in the product roadmap, we consider some possible evolutions of the program. A Maritime Patrol with KC390 is one of those possible evolutions, but as of today, we have no market requirements for that, and there is no launched development activities on this specific version or capability.
You're going to be certifying civil standards, and early in the program there was some talk of possibly selling the aircraft to commercial operators. Has that been put to one side, or is that something still that you're interested in? And has there been any developments in that line?
Yeah.
Have you had any interest from?
Again, we do not comment on campaigns that we have, but of course this is also part of the product roadmap.
Yeah.
It's not just because of that we have the dual approach for certification. It's also because it's more interesting for the military. It's cheaper and quicker. But the civil certification of the basic aircraft makes it easier for us to have a civil version derived from the military aircraft. And yes, we do consider this version. Again, it will depend on market response.
Grant Turnbull from Shepherd Media. Have you actually scheduled in the ramp up to 2 aircraft a month, or is that just projected? Have you scheduled the ramp up to 2 aircraft a month, or is that something that is potentially?
The schedule for the ramp up depends on sales. So as we are starting the life of the program, I cannot tell you. We can ramp up quicker if we have a good market response. We can stretch this if we have to. So it will depend on the market.
What's the production schedule at the minute for the Brazilians? What time span?
They will get, after this initial aircraft, they will get 3 aircraft a year. Okay? And of course we'll have capability to deliver more than that. So we are working with the possibility of filling the production planning with the export orders.
Another question, guys?
Just to confirm what you said before, when would the first export slot be available?
Next year we'll deliver the 2 first to FAB, and from 2019 we are already able to start delivering abroad.
As I understand it, you can refuel heavy aircraft from the wing pods. Do you have any views on to do a centerline refueling for heavier aircraft? Because I presume wing pods will be slower than...
It's a bit more complicated question, yours. Thank you for that, but let's elaborate a bit more. If you consider KC390 as a tanker for a heavy aircraft, this could fit very specific needs, because we would not be able to transfer too much fuel to a big aircraft, as we are not a very big aircraft. So we can refuel another KC390. And to do that, yet to demonstrate, we plan to do it with the existing wing pods. The amount of fuel we can transfer is largely enough for fighter aircraft, enough for helicopters, can be really adequate to refuel another KC390, except if you look at training purposes. I see low operational interest in using a KC390 to refuel a really big aircraft. So today it's not part of the plans. We have no requirements to do that. We can do the other combination. We can be refueled from a bigger tanker in addition to another KC390. Yes.
Can you say anything on the crews and the pilots from the Brazilian Air Force, whether they've started to roll into Embraer to start training? I mean, you mentioned anything on that?
Well, we have already had some training, and military pilots working for the military certification agency have already been flying the aircraft with us, as the civil certification agency pilots too.
In terms of the first class that will come in, the first class, the first batch of pilots from...
The training of the operational crews is linked to the deliveries, so it will start next year. We have a time before the first delivery to start training the first crews, and then we have a training schedule that is linked to the delivery schedule. Yeah, one person is reminding me that we do have Brazilian Air Force transport pilot flying with us this mission here to the air show and to the demonstration flights around. Okay.
So guys, we have now time for 2 more questions because Gaston has to leave. He has other meetings. So do we have any other questions? Okay, well.
I'll just ask
One question.
Okay, one question here. Another.
Who is your biggest competitor?
I would say the biggest competitor is about the same size, aircraft-wise speaking. We never talk about competitors because we build the aircraft to respond to customer requirements and not to face competition. But unfortunately, you always have to face competition. The only aircraft in the same category, in the same capability class in production today is the C-130J. So of course we'll be competing for the market needs against the C-130J.
What distinguishes you from the C-130J?
Well, I don't use to do comparisons, first of all. Second, we have profound respect for the competition in general and for the C-130 in particular. It's an icon in this segment, but it's now time to have a more modern solution offered to the operators with advantages we are sure we are bringing to the market. And I showed before on the slides that we are proposing some components of the value proposition based on a higher payload capability, on a much higher performance, so bringing mobility capability well superior. And when I told you we are bringing our experience in the commercial side to offer a military airlifter and tanker with a very high availability, very low maintenance costs, very low downtime for maintenance. So everything you see as part of our design, things are there to bring to the customers value and advantages. But again, it's not a comparison, it's just the way we took, the approach we took to develop the KC390.
So, last question here. Okay, 2 more questions here, and then we're done. Okay.
Thank you. One question about your competitor. Ukrainian transport aircraft on 148 is your competitor or not? 78. Sorry, 178. Yes. Last time this aircraft demonstrated at Le Bourget.
Yes, yes. Once again, as I told you, with respect to competition, I see the Antonov Design Bureau as one of the most experienced in the world in military transport. So I have a full respect for them. But as far as we know, they have prototype aircraft flying, and there is no production arrangement in place. So we cannot see it yet as a competitor. They may become a competitor if they put this aircraft into production. It would not be exactly a competitor because it is not in the same capacity class. It's a slightly smaller aircraft. Okay, but if a customer can have the requirements fulfilled with a smaller aircraft, this could be a solution once it's put in production. Why not?
Last question here from Antonio, would you
it's
still have
fine.
a guys? No, okay. Guys, so thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Just to remind you, if you want to visit the airplane tomorrow, it will be open for visiting until 11:30. After 11:30, the airplane is closed because we have to move it to the flight line.